The concept that the universe isn't really real might seem at first glance to be a statement from the realm of science fiction or philosophical musings. However, the idea has roots in deep philosophical and scientific thought, challenging the very nature of reality and how we perceive the universe around us. This idea confronts some of the fundamental assumptions about existence, consciousness, and the nature of reality. To explore this idea thoroughly, we must dive into a blend of physics, metaphysics, and philosophy. #####, perception and reality. The first and most direct question we must ask when contemplating whether the universe is real is, what do we mean by real? Human beings experience the world around them through their senses, interpreting these sensory inputs as a representation of an objective reality. However, it is crucial to understand that what we perceive is not a direct experience of the world, as it truly is. Instead, our senses provide us with a representation, filtered through the complex processes of our brains. For instance, the colors we see are not inherent properties of objects themselves, but are the result of how light interacts with the environment and is interpreted by our eyes and brains. Similarly, the sounds we hear are vibrations in the air, but it is our brain that gives those vibrations meaning as sound. Philosophers have long argued that the external world is not something we directly experience, but something mediated by our senses and perceptions. In this sense, the universe is not real in the way we often think of it. It's an internal construction. ###, the simulation hypothesis. One of the most famous modern ideas that challenge the notion of a real universe is the simulation hypothesis. Popularized by figures such as philosopher Nick Bostrom and further cemented by tech moguls like Elon Musk, the simulation hypothesis posits that our entire universe is, in fact, a computer simulation, an artificial reality created by a far more advanced civilization. According to this theory, what we perceive as the physical world, space, time, and all the laws of physics are nothing more than highly sophisticated simulations running on an incredibly advanced computational system. Bostrom's argument rests on a few key premises. 1. The technological capability for simulation. If a civilization reaches a point of technological sophistication where they can simulate entire universes with conscious beings, then they would have the capability to create a simulation indistinguishable from real reality. 2. The likelihood of simulating universes. If such civilizations exist and can simulate worlds, the number of simulated universes would vastly outnumber the number of real ones, meaning it's statistically more likely that we exist in a simulation rather than the base real world. 3. Consciousness in a simulation. If we, as conscious beings, are living in a simulation, we would be unaware of it, as the simulation would be designed to mirror the reality we experience. While the simulation hypothesis remains speculative, it raises deep questions about the nature of existence. If our universe is a simulation, then our perceptions of reality, our emotions, thoughts, and sensory experiences are all part of an artificial construct. The laws of physics, the formation of galaxies, and the evolution of life are not the fundamental realities, but are merely the outputs of a program running in a computer. ####, quantum mechanics and the nature of reality. Quantum mechanics also challenges our understanding of real reality. At the quantum level, particles behave in ways that defy classical logic and intuition. One of the most perplexing phenomena in quantum physics is the concept of superposition. In simple terms, particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until they are measured. Only when observed do they collapse into a single state. This leads to the famous thought experiment known as Schrödinger's cat, where a cat inside a box can be both alive and dead until the box is opened and observed. This strange behavior seems to suggest that reality itself is not fixed, but depends on observation. The real state of a quantum system isn't determined until it is observed, leading some to question whether the universe exists in a tangible sense when we are not looking at it. In other words, does the universe exist independently of our perception, or does it require an observer to bring it into reality? The physicist John Wheeler famously proposed the participatory universe theory, where reality itself is not something that exists independently of us, but is a co-creation between the observer and the observed. According to this view, Reality only comes into being when it is observed, with the act of observation playing a fundamental role in shaping the universe. #### idealism. The universe is mind. Another philosophical perspective that questions the reality of the universe is idealism, the belief that reality is fundamentally mental or spiritual in nature. Idealists argue that the physical world is not independent of consciousness, but exists only as an expression or projection of the mind. The universe, in this view, is not real in the material sense, but is a manifestation of the consciousness that perceives it. One of the most famous proponents of idealism was the philosopher George Berkeley, who argued that to be is to be perceived. According to Berkeley, objects only exist insofar as they are perceived by a conscious mind, and without a mind to observe them, they would cease to exist. While this view is radical and often counterintuitive, it provides a challenge to materialism, the belief that the physical world exists independently of consciousness. Berkeley's ideas can be seen as complementary to modern interpretations of quantum mechanics, where the role of the observer appears to be central to the existence of reality itself. In this view, the universe may not be real in the traditional sense, but exists as a product of consciousness, either individual or collective. #### The multiverse and parallel realities. The idea of the multiverse, multiple, potentially infinite universes that coexist alongside our own, also raises questions about the reality of our universe. If there are many parallel universes, each with its own set of physical laws and properties, then the universe we perceive as real might be just one of countless other possibilities. In this context, our reality may be just one variation within an infinite array of different possible worlds, some of which may be vastly different from our own. In this scenario, the question of realness becomes more complicated. If there are infinitely many universes, then it could be said that each universe is equally real in its own context, but none is more real than another. The very concept of a singular, objective reality becomes less meaningful when multiple, coexisting realities could all be equally valid in their own right. #### conclusion. The idea that the universe isn't really real forces us to reconsider our most basic assumptions about existence. Whether through the lens of perception, quantum mechanics, the simulation hypothesis, idealism, or the multiverse, the nature of reality is far more complex than our everyday experiences suggest. While we may feel certain that the universe around us is real and objective, these various perspectives challenge that certainty and invite us to explore deeper questions about consciousness, observation, and the fabric of the cosmos itself.